प्रेम भक्त मंडल नित्य कीर्तितं प्रेमिका वरदं The blessings of our beloved Master, Maharani Shri Ramanujamji. We have been exploring and discussing on some ways to enhance our living, to bring in more life into our life. And we are discussing it under the title of Intelligent Living. We are on the 4th edition of this discussion. And we have been seeing how intellect needs to be strengthened so that we can rein in the mind, so that the energy can be channelized, stabilized, and enhanced, so that we use that energy to progress towards the purpose of our life, which we define. And we are all, humans are basically goal-oriented and purpose-oriented creatures. We all know that. If we think working too hard is a problem, suddenly when we find that we don't have much to work on, becomes an even bigger problem. If tight work gives us anxiety, lack of work can even lead us to a state of mild depression. So we need goals. And we need a strong intellect to make sure that we don't fall trap, as we saw. It was a strong word, but just for the lack of better word, I need to work through the maze of manipulation and distraction to keep my focus and work deeply towards my own goals and purposes. And that is the reason why I need a strong intellect. And a lot of you asked a question. Many of you have been even giving me offline lovely comments and suggestions. How do I improve Buddhir Balam? Our Swamiji very simply told it to many of those youngsters who asked this question. He said, first find an area where you want to exercise the Buddhir Balam, the power of intellect, the power of making a choice and standing by it. And typically, to give you an example, suppose I wake up daily at 9 o'clock in the morning and I need to improve it. And that was a case study our young boy was telling our Swamiji. And Swamiji said, okay, you are waking up at 8 o'clock every day. All right. So you want to wake when? He says, I want to wake up at 5 o'clock, Swamiji. And did you try? 2 days I tried. I put alarm at 5 o'clock. But what to do? I only shut off the alarm, went back to sleep. Normally I wake up at 8 because of that alarm. I woke up at 8:30. Why? I was disturbed at 5. So Swamiji said, that's not what you should do. Yes, you should progress towards 5, but don't take a big step towards 5. Why don't you in the next day reduce your sleeping time by, say, 1 hour? It should not be too easy, neither should be too tough. It should be deep inside, convincing to you, he said, that it is achievable and it is not a goal of a tall order. And it should not be too easy also, so that not much difference happened because of that task I took. Swamiji said, whether you wake at 5 or 8 is secondary, may be important. But the fact that you need to slowly convince your mind and the intellect that when you get a chance to make a decision, you stuck by it. And that's how you feed the intellect and make it stronger. So the fact that you are trying to make a decision tomorrow, 8 o'clock is what I generally wake up. In India, it's pretty late. And you decide the next day, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 7. So 1 hour is a very good movement. And though your target or a goal is 5, don't jump to 5 and feel depressed that I tried not once, twice. You have to go slow. Take small steps, but take small, sure steps. And the next day morning, he asked this child to say, you wake up at 7 o'clock, take bath and come and see me at 7:30. You see, now a guru is aiding the slow improvement of a child to strengthen its buddhir balam. So the child immediately next day now has two things to look forward to. It has a time set, and its intrinsic reward is I'm happy that I stuck to what I decided, which is very important for a child to get confidence. And the second reward is there is an extrinsic reward that I go and report to something and feel the warmth of that recognition that I did stick by what I decided extrinsically outside, which is going and meeting the guru. So he came and did that at 7:30. Then immediately he was now fired up. Now, yes, Swamiji, shall I try 6 o'clock tomorrow? He said, no, you maintain 7 and show me for 3 days. And then we will see. So every day slowly he maintained. Now, it was deep in the heart, he is convinced that yes, I can if I want to. And then the 4th day he said, why don't you try 6:30 now? 3 days. And that's how step by step, in about a month, that chap was able to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning as a practice. And he felt very happy about it. Then Swamiji said, waking up at 5 is not a big deal. Now do you realize that for you to be strengthened and confident about your own capabilities, you need to take small decisions like this, test your own intellect, test the limits of your intellect, prove to the intellect that yes, it is stuck by what it decided, etc. And now use this confidence to reduce your addiction to all those phone-related apps. So he said, I don't want you to stop overnight. That chap was actually undergoing that, though he didn't tell, his parents must have told. So he said, how much time do you spend on all this chatting endlessly? And he said, around 2 hours, Swamiji. He said, why don't you make it 1.5 hours tomorrow and tell me how it felt? Now, you know what? When he opened his phone, a new light came to him. The light was opening the phone with a goal of when I'm going to shut it down. You see, many times our Swamiji says, whenever people come to talk to me, I mentally make up that this is the time I want to allot to them unless something is seriously off limits. And if you see, he would be very engrossed in the speech. But by the force of his control over time, his eyes will every now and then stray to the clock. So if it is close to 3 minutes, close to the time he has planned that this is what I'm going to chat with you or talk with you, he will come to and so, you say, to a conclusion within 3 minutes. The one who met Swamiji is happy, Swamiji is happy. And that way you plan that you don't lose the most important resource called time by planning. For everything, we have a plan. Suppose you go out to play, go and play with a plan that this is when I'm going to come back. Start with the end in mind, you see. Likewise, when we actually start becoming stronger in our intellect, which means we have willpower, sounds a little strong word, but that's comes close to what we are saying. Buddhir balam na willpower na vechukome. When we have that willpower, we test it and we grow in strength, you see, and not take a deep dive and a deep plunge and feel sad that I don't have the strength, etc. And so start with two things. Start with small steps. Don't try to suddenly shut it down. Is one strategy. There are some people who say evolution versus revolution. Suddenly stop everything and bear it. But I'm just suggesting what I heard from our master. Reduce it slowly. Next time you want to chat with your friends, when you as a person know that it is draining my time more than what is required, chat with a clear idea that I'm going to chat for 5 minutes. That's it. That's the limit. When you are close to 3 minutes, you come to a conclusion so that you are not leaving anything hanging. And then you finish off the chat and said, if there is anything further, maybe we'll talk tomorrow. So you have a continuity there. So two things are important when we realize. First, we have to realize. Remember the 4 stages I told you. I'll spend more time on it today. 4 stages of transformation. I will give you the technical term and then I'll make it simple for you to understand. First thing is called unconscious incompetence. The simple way to understand is I don't know what I don't know about myself. Unconscious incompetence. The second stage is I start observing, I start being aware of what all I don't know or what all I'm doing wrong, which is called self-awareness. You are not still made any changes. And don't feel sad when you suddenly discover, oh my God, this is what I'm doing with my life. That's what I've been doing. So nothing wrong. Don't be judgmental. But the second step is I know where I'm going wrong, yet I'm still doing it wrong. You see, which is called conscious incompetence. I'm conscious, still not there. Then you make the small steps of what is called as a conscious competence. So if I'm wasting 1 hour, I know it's a waste, but I don't want to suddenly risk making it 0. I make it 45 minutes and feel happy about it. So now consciously, I'm trying to reduce my waste of time, waste of energy, waste of attention, you see. And then I do that. And then I go in strength, stabilize everything. That's the secret. Luckily, I was trained in what is called a Six Sigma. It gave me tremendous insight into life, believe it or not. That's the beauty of any knowledge. One source of knowledge, if you go and think about it deep enough, has the answers for all the other sources also, integrated then. So in a process, especially in Six Sigma, you don't start improving without stabilizing the process. You see, you first check whether the process is stabilized. If the process is, behaving very weirdly or in a very unpredictable way, first step is not improvement. First step is conscious incompetence, stabilized incompetence. Let me know the extent of the stable loss of a process which I am working on. So use it for me. When I see a lot of instability, even if it is a waste of time, energy, and attention, first thing I need to do is stabilize it so that I know the extent. And stability itself is a big strength. And the stability gives me confidence, you see. And so once I'm stabilizing myself, then I can make small improvements, you see. And then I look at the small improvements. I start getting incompetent with a target for reducing my incompetency, knowing very well that everything is a journey. I don't want to suddenly wish it off the next day. I do it slowly. I enhance the number of days. To give you a corporate example, they tell us number of days without an accident in the plant, you see. So they try to increase the number of days as much as possible. Instead of saying 0, that's it. That's a goal, that's a mission. But how do you monitor it? Number of days, consecutive days without an accident. Likewise, there was this very interesting religious leader in America who found out the number one problem with all his community people was complaining. Everybody complaining about somebody else. And he used to always say, how do I actually put in a system where I can somehow slowly improve this non-complaining behavior of these people? If you have a problem, address it. You see, instead of when we don't do what needs to be done, but only talk about it in negative terms, it's called complaint. So when you see something is not meeting my need, take a step to get it done or influence somebody to get it done. That's not complaint. Complaint is, I won't do anything, but I will talk about it. In Tamil Nadu, it's called Thinna Vambu Pechinu per. You see, where you don't do anything. You sit in the veranda. What do you do? Nothing. That's the complaint. So he instituted a very, very beautiful system. You know, these youngsters have this habit of wearing bands now. This is the band for this, the green earth. This is the band for red sun. This is the band for green Venus, and all that you have now, varieties of bands. So he created a no complaint band, you see. And he said, you wear it in your right hand. And if you ever complained even once in a day, you have to move it to the left hand, you see. And then the next day, you can again reset it. And the target given was, tell me the maximum number of days where your band stayed in your right hand without a complaint, you see. And one person did up to 7 days. And then he came and told him, sir, 7 days I have done. You know, those people are complaining. Then he said, now you are complaining about complaint, na? Change it to left hand. How subtle, you see? Mind the correct and then he realized that, and then slowly he stopped complaining. He started watching how the mind starts to complain. And then he starts, instead of complaining, what can I remember the three things I asked to do that yesterday? What can I do given this problem? What I need to do given this problem was the question they asked. And thankfully, the band stayed in the right hand. You see what I'm saying? That's how you improve. Create your own innovative ways to monitor. And don't make it black or white or 1 or 0 or yes or no type of thing. The whole world it's a gray world, isn't it? So make it slowly improve, slowly improve. It's a journey. It's a journey of excellence. Even a small value I hold on to and make it strong, it can impact all my values. The greatest virtue is having the strength that if I decide something, I shall do that, you see. And that is the reason why there were questions about how do I improve my buddhir balam. Very simple. Have first awareness of conscious incompetence. Understand, I decided something, I failed. I decided I failed. I'm sort of habituated to something, I need to change a habit, for example. The best way is, like our Swamiji did with that boy, small targets. Make it a big deal for yourself and say, from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I will do it in steps of maybe half an hour or 1 hour. It should not be too easy, it should not be too difficult, so that we empower the intellect that way. And slowly, we have plans now. I work upfront. You see, upstreaming, that's what we need to do. No homework. Upstreaming means for me to wake up at, say, 7 o'clock tomorrow, what do I need to do the night before? You see, many times we wish, I hope I will wake up. Upstream it. Do I have to get to sleep early? Do I have to lock up my mobile so that I don't compulsively see it after 10 o'clock in the night? All these you decide, because you are helping your intellect to be strong. You want to set the intellect for success. So you decide 9:45, lock my phone inside, finish. I'm going to sleep. Even if I'm not able to sleep, I won't at least add negativity if I can't have a positive sleep. And slowly, that's how I upstream. And then my intellect becomes pretty strong. It becomes pretty abled, empowered. And I use the strength of one area of my life, which is I was able to wake up at, say, 5 o'clock in the morning because I decided. And I use that confidence, that strength to read across. Whenever I have another challenge, I have something to draw my strength from, which is what is called trust, isn't it? Remember that tightrope walking thing? So I draw it from him. And then I can be more confident and start planning. So the easiest way to enhance my strength of buddhi, small targets. Next steps, small steps. Don't worry about how do I achieve it, end of 30 days, 3 hours less sleep. Rather focus on how do I reduce my half an hour for tomorrow. Mind always works on the last steps. Buddhi has to force it, saying all that is fine. Now what do you do now? What do you do next is far more important than what will happen after I have the 1,000th mile journey. That let it come. In English, you say, let's cross the bridge when it comes. And there is a Chinese proverb, they say that even a 1,000-mile journey has to start with the first single step. You see, many of us should not be paralyzed thinking 1,000 miles, what do I do? Take the first step. Start walking and thinking. It is called learning in motion. You see, my earlier days, you are prepared and then you are sent out to do what you learned. But now we all know now we are in an age where we learn in motion, which means we learn as we go. We learn iteratively. I have not figured it out fully, but I will learn on the way. I learn from my own mistakes. I learn from my own misgivings. And when we do that, it's very easy to get that buddhir balam, says Mahants. See? And that is the simplest way to enhance our buddhir balam. Use it for other things also. And this was in continuation with what we were discussing yesterday about, there was a question about how do I enhance my buddhir balam. And once that balam is pretty much enhanced, then instantaneous decisions, buddhi gets to that mode. And it takes a very calculated risk automatically. This is the fourth step. First step is conscious incompetence. First step is unconscious incompetence. I don't even know where I'm going wrong. Second step is conscious competence. I know where I'm lacking. I'm watching it. I know it. I know the extent. I know its frequency. I'm figuring the problem out. I'm defining it out. The third step is consciously I make small targets and progress towards my goal, my purpose. And the fourth step is effortless competence, where the buddhi gets to that mode of immediately asking, yes, this is the situation. What do I do now? What can I do now? What's the consequence? Immediate, you see. And many times you have to give the decision and think about the consequence parallelly. Fine. At least we can minimize or contain it if we can expect such a thing may happen in the future. Protect ourselves or others from it. So that is how we enhance buddhi. See. And that is the beauty of our journey of human life, where we progress from fulfilling one goal to the next. Goals are all moving targets. We all need goals. For normal people, we need goals. For normal people. And even people who say there is no purpose of life, I've read some people, somebody in India, they talk like that. There is no purpose in life. There is no meaning in life. There is nothing to be attained. But then for his organization, spiritual organization, he has very hard goals for people. If there is no purpose, no meaning, it is double speak, isn't it? Don't go by what people speak. Think. Find out what they are doing. What one speaks and what one does needs to match. So we should not be misguided. Manipulative, distracted. It's called Vivechanam. In Tamil, it's called Vivekam. Or even better, in Tamil, it is called Paguttu Aridal. Paguttu Aridal has become, in Tamil at least, equivalent to atheism. Actually speaking, the final end of Bhagavatam is Pagutarivu only. You see, the final goal of Bhagavata Dharma is Vivekam, which has Bhakti, Jnana, and Vairagya as its elements, is how Bhagavatam ends. So they made it manipulated in such a way that we think it's either Pagutarivu or religion, which is not the point. Religion makes us more sharper in our discrimination. Paguttu Aridal, Vivechanam or Vivekam. You see, that is the beauty of our religion. Anyway, so here, that's how you progress. And today we will take another topic, which yesterday I promised we will take. We will talk about three things today. We will talk about anger. What is this anger? And empathy. These two are related, sort of. Because it demands the same base understanding of some basic things in our life. And there were some requests for how do I use prayers to strengthen my buddhi also. And we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll explore it a little bit. First, let us understand that everything happens in this world because of something fundamental called need, right? Without needs, things don't happen. Without needs, things don't happen. Even a grass is trying to grow, or a plant is trying to grow towards the maximum sunlight because it is expressing its need. It is trying to fulfill the need. Right from a blade of grass to the highest being, everybody's action or deliberate inaction is everything which is driven by needs. Needs. And if we understand this fundamental truth, believe it or not, you can avoid 90% of conflicts in our life. If you understand this fundamental thing, that everything is an expression of need. And people were asking about feelings. Feelings are nothing but a result of the need being met or not met, or the need expected to be met or expected not to be met, right? And all these gives rise to feelings. So the feelings comes from the needs. And a little bit of inflated need is a desire. That is the reason why even in Bhagavad Gita and any of the ancient Indian psychologists, these feelings, emotions were all attached to need. This will be taken care because it's just a dependent entity of the needs. Na? So generally, though they talked about Navarasas and the various emotions in the Rasa theory, Rasana relish, mellows, moods, etc., it was more an aesthetic thing than a very spiritual thing because they understood if you take care of this, this is automatic. It's a dependent reality. Needs is also called in Sanskritam as kamam. Kamamna needs also. Hunger is also a need. It's also kamam. Akshutpibasa. When you are hungry, when you are thirsty, Allah needs them. And Bhagavan says, I have put that need in all of us so that we can lead a responsible life of understanding what I need and try to exert, do human effort to fulfill that need, right? Everything is in needs. When a need is met, we generally understand that the need is met intellectually, but more with the feelings, you see. And when I'm happy, when I'm satisfied, when I'm delighted, all these are different flavors of a need being met. When a need was met unexpectedly, we call it delight. When a need long time nagging, then met, satisfied, you see. When a need was met exactly when I expected to be met, I'm happy. Now there are a lot of flavors now. Likewise, there is a need which is not met currently. Remember this word, a need not met yet. That's what differentiates optimism from pessimism. Optimism says it's not met yet. There is an setu word, yet word, not yet. Pessimists say it's not met. That's it. It's closed. It's 1 or 0. It's like, But an optimist say it's not met yet, which means I'm not going to stop trying. I'm going to try in a different way. I'm going to try with renewed enthusiasm because it's an important need. I shall not give up that need because I know it's an important need. So they add a word yet. And remember, that's how you progress well in life. That's how we don't miss opportunities. That's how we don't miss exploration. The moment we think it's not met, you close. You're not seeing opportunities. You're not exploring. Life is all about explorations. And the opportunity doesn't knock twice. They say, no, it never knocks actually. You need to look for it. Because if you're absently living the life, you miss it. And that is the reason why needs. When you have a need and it is met, generally people say it leads to feelings. And positive feelings are merely a wonderful indication of a need being met. And we can also experiment with ourselves. This is how you become buddhi. How? Depending on the intensity of the feelings, you would be surprised at the intensity of the need is being expressed. You understand what I'm saying? Suppose I was expecting this is a big need, and when it is met, I am fleetingly happy. That is telling me a lesson. Hey, you assume this to be a big need. Guess what? Maybe it's not. Because when it is met, you are not getting that delight which you expected to get. So probe further. There is a different need which is going to drive your life. Find it, find it, find it. And that's how you go and explore this wonderful inner exploration of life. The greatest journey, Kanchi Mahapariva once told a foreigner, I think it was an European. He says, I want to progress spiritually. From which direction do I actually start my pilgrimage in India? For that, this great Mahatma explained the greatest journey is the journey towards yourself. So the actual journey you need to take is inward. You see, whether you go north, south, east, west, doesn't matter. Go inward. That's the greatest journey, and that is the longest journey towards the self. You see, and that's how the journey which I'm telling is only that, where I discover stuff about myself, and I discover at least the outer layer of what I am. I should discover, and I discover the intensity of my needs by the intensity of the feelings when the needs are just met or not yet met. You see, that gives me lessons. This is important. Many times people tell me, it's a long time since I went and saw my master. I'm feeling very miserable. I said, rejoice. That's a very positive, negative feeling. because that shows that you have a strong need to be connected to spirituality, which is something I would rejoice if I have that. And that is seen very positively in bhakti. The longing is seen very positively. So we don't have to feel negative about having that so-called negative feeling. Understand that? So you discover a genuine, and if I feel very sad about a need, which I think is very important in my journey of life, even though I feel extremely sad about it, as intellect, I'm watching it and saying, good, I'm clear about some things. I'm going in the right direction. Yes, this need is not yet met. Let me see how can I meet it, you see. And that's what keeps our journey going in a purposeful road without getting distracted. Because if you give up, these two demons are waiting for us. Manipulative exteriors, destructive exterior. Then you need an escape. The moment you think, oh, my needs are not met, I'm feeling sad now, I want an escape now. What do? I binge. I try to do stuff which is absolutely non-value add, you see. If that helps you to somehow center after some time, perfect. Everybody needs a little distraction. But remember, deliberately go to the distraction. If you want a distraction, say, next half an hour, I want to get this off my head. Let me watch something. Watch some short clip or some YouTube video which cheers me up, perfectly fine. But remember, you are not escaping here. You are deliberately taking a step towards distracting yourself from the current state so that you can do something else. It is also done deliberately. If you do it as a decision, next half an hour, let me sort of let off my steam, or let me sort of refocus on something else. I need a break, for example. That's a deliberate break. When you take the deliberate break, you remember how much time you are going to spend for the break, how much energy, how much attention. Not so much in gradation, but these are the general things the brain has to decide. And typically, it is better to at least specify the time, half an hour, or correct half. Remember, in spite anything you do online, there is always distraction, there is always manipulation for you to stay there. If I am also a designer of a video in an online platform, my task would be, how do I make the consumer stay in this platform as long as possible, obviously. And a game has to be, if suppose I want to play something online, okay, the game should be designed in such a way that it's very absorbing, which means the ideal goal of the game is endlessly the person has to, whole life he should sit before the screen. That just, is that not what the ideal goal would be? And if you are a responsible gaming designer, maybe you would say, I'm yet to see, I don't know, I'm not a gamer. But responsible gaming designers will say, this is too much of indulgence right now, force a break. You see, where you say half an hour, I won't log in now. You take a break, eat something and come. Wash your face and come, or whatever, you see. But I don't think it is designed that way. I'm yet to see an online video platform saying that you're watching too long. You see, take a break. I won't switch on for the next half an hour. I'm yet to see such things. But I bet it will come, because people are waking up and people understand the manipulation. And when it creates this escape velocity or a critical mass, then the designers would be forced to incorporate such human elements and reduce their manipulation and reduce their distraction for their own sustainability. It will come, you see. And just like how some extremely non-healthy food had to adapt themselves to make it as healthy possible and minimize the non-healthy part of it to sustain, this will also come for the mind, for the emotions, it will come. And if that critical mass comes, they will anyway. But till that point of time, I have to manage my life now. So even if I have to take a small break of distraction, it is measured. And the intellect allows it, because I understand. I want a break, do it. So needs. When a need is met, we have a big spectrum of emotions. And that's why the more I have an exact language, a word, and also the exact emotion attached to that word, if I know, I become even more empowered. The more I'm aware of my emotion right now, more I am empowered. If I don't even pay attention to what is happening within me, I'm not going to be empowered. For example, if somebody is conscious about, I'm really happy right now, it must mean that, this need was a big need. And I'm feeling very grateful for people who met this need, etc. Now awareness has gone in. When there is gratitude, that empowers us. If we just be a little influenced person, we jump around a bit and then not even think about why I jumped around, what am I doing, what is the conscious impact of what I am doing right now with others. Am I doing it in the right place, in the right time, with the right audience? All that, if it's not there, then what happens is I'm not self-aware. And that is the reason why it is always good to understand what am I feeling right now. It's a good question to ask. We can ask that now. Can I sense my feeling right now? And that brings awareness, that empowers buddhi, that makes you strong. And now you won't lose control. When I say lose control, I mean, we won't do anything irresponsible. We have things under control. Yes, it's not going the way it is going, but I am being self-aware. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling sad. Empowers you. I'm feeling despondent. Empowers you. You see, even in negative feelings, there is a big thing. So awareness of my feeling. And also the next logical question, which need was not met for me to have this feeling? Guess what? You have intelligent living one-on-one if you know these two words and know how to apply it. And I've seen it happen. If we can understand, what am I feeling right now? I am now spending a little time respecting me now. Instead of being busy condemning others, I give respect to me. How do I respect myself? What is self-respect? I have two things in me. Two things are needs and feelings. If I respect my needs and feelings, I'm giving self-respect to myself. And generally, if I don't have self-respect, how can I even imagine others to respect me when I don't respect myself? And how do I respect myself? I listen. That's a sign of respect. Many times when people are disrespectful, one of the teachers told me yesterday, he said, hey, listen, why? I want respect. They say, I want respect. So when you look at these people and those people are little here and there, you say, listen. Why? That's the sign of respect. When a Mahatma comes, or when a person whom you love, or a person whom you like, or a person whom you respect comes in, you're all ears now. You want to listen. That's a sign of respect, isn't it? Likewise, what is a sign of self-respect? I listen to myself. How do I listen to myself? Listening to myself productively means to be aware of two things which happens to me right now, which is what am I feeling and what are the needs which has sponsored these feelings. Which need was met, which makes me happy right now. Then I understand this is important for me. I have a data point about myself. I've discovered something about myself, which I lose if I don't even am aware about. I have a general idea. And when I'm feeling not very positively, for a lack of a better word, like anger, then immediately going in this path of what am I feeling? I'm feeling angry. Is it really anger? What is the need which was not met, which makes me feel angry? You know what happens? If you practice it slowly, you will never get angry, because anger is one emotion which is not genuine. Anger is a masked emotion. Anger is an emotion which masks some other genuine emotion. You understand what I'm saying? For example, in India, they used to do all that. If a very young brat, small boy, your own boy, is trying to cross the road, you see, in busy traffic, the father gets angry and said, what? You pull the child and become angry. Now, anger is not the genuine emotion there. The genuine emotion is concern. The genuine emotion is what will happen if my child gets injured. That concern is masked by anger when you forget the basic need which was in play there. You get what I'm saying? The need was safety of the child. And anger, in a second, if we don't have buddhir balam, will make you mask the genuine emotion, which is benign emotion, parental concern. But it is masked by anger. And does it solve the problem? More often than not, it doesn't. It may solve that particular issue, but it creates a bigger problem. The child will become more revolting. The child would want to actually provoke you. And now you created a new problem, you see. So anger is there, genuine. You can't wish it away. But I'm trying to show you that anger has a purpose. The purpose of anger, as shown by some of these excellent minds of this country, inspired by some of the teachings of Vedanta and Mahatma Gandhi, they have said that the anger makes you forget the need for the second. Anger makes you forget what was the need in play. And now, when you lose sight of the need, whatever the mind does would be counterproductive. If we don't lose sight of the need, then intellect is still holding the reins of the mind. The moment I lose sight of the needs, I'm letting go of the horses fly wherever it wants to. And then, after it is a little late, intellect wakes up, oops, I think I spoke more than what should have spoken. And that's going to create more problems for me, etc. So, anger happens, as I said yesterday, apart from physiological conditions where some chemical imbalance is there in your head or brain or whatever. Because one of the doctors who is in our satsang told me that anger need not be just because of that, it can be a physiological problem. I'm cutting that out. And he said it's a very rare phenomenon, that you have a physiological problem. Some chemicals which are supposed to keep you in poise, whatever, dopamine or cortisol or whatever it is, I don't know. Those are less, so you need to give them the supplement for that, so that they have physiologically they are able to face such things. I'm talking about people who are pretty much having those in right quantities, and yet we all get angry. So that we can control that when we understand there is a purpose. Anger is showing us there is a need and you are not paying attention. You see, when you don't pay attention, remember that boy with this stone on that Jaguar, which incidentally is a Tata Motors product, not Ford any longer. So when that red Jaguar comes in and this little boy throws a stone, you see, and the person comes out, he says, I tried flagging you. I tried showing signs. I tried shouting. Nobody stopped. I had to take a stone. And now, if you don't use buddhir balam, then what happens is this anger takes over and takes a stone to bring the attention to a very important need. And when we forget that need, the state of a need which is not met, if it is forgotten, let me call it anger. You see? And how do I take care of anger? I believe that everything is put for a purpose, you see. And we need to dig deeper for a very negative stuff which happens around. The purpose is far deeper. That's all. The purpose of anger is to remind us you have a very genuine, strong need. You are not paying attention right now. Pay attention to the need. Anger has done its purpose. It will keep quiet. And buddhi is the one who constantly tells the mind, what is the need right now? And what are you feeling right now? If you do that, you're a master of yourself. And once you are a master of your own emotions, then you wield tremendous influence in your own journey of progress towards purpose. So the idea here is very simple. Remember two things, if at all other things are forgotten. Ask yourself these two questions. What am I feeling right now? Be aware. Self-awareness of feelings helps even as a good parenting technique. When a child is feeling very sad, etc., you can first ask, what are you feeling right now? And enhance your emotional and verbal vocabulary of feelings. Each one is different, you see. The more we are aware about the extent of that feeling, more we are shown the depth of a need, and it will help us to decide stuff, you see. For example, if my child is not well and I feel tremendous sorrow about it, versus I get a pay cut of say 10% and I felt sad about it. You understand deep inside, this is your hierarchy of values. This is how Bhagavan speaks to us from inside, by showing feelings as the marker of the important needs, and the extent of importance of the needs is the extent of the depth of the feelings I undergo. This is how important it is. What I'm feeling, what do I need? See. And once I'm clear about what I'm feeling and what I need, then I live responsibly. I don't have to react to stuff, because when there is a need, for example, somebody provokes me in a meeting, for example, and shouts at me. Now, anger is now rising when it stops seeing what do I need in this meeting now. Anger is now straight like a snake, directed straight towards that person. How dare you talk like that? Now I lost sight of my need. What do I need right now? I need respect in this place. So the moment the buddhi reminds that I need respect, I have many ways to deal with it. One of the way could be shout at that person. But no, I'm not shouting out of anger. I'm shouting out of a clear decision. It won't impact my heart rate, or it won't impact my all this ulcer, etc. Because I'm doing it as a deliberate increasing decibel. At best, I may need a Ricola after it. That's all. See, I don't need Tums after it. Okay. The reason being, I can have many options if I am focused on my need. And anger cuts off all the options and creates a new path which you may have to repair later. You see, and it's a distraction. So remember this: needs and feelings. And when we are focused on our needs, and if the intellect is practiced, how do I know this? How do I do this? Very simple. Don't wait and work on things which angers you the most. Start with minor irritants. You see what I'm saying? Minor irritants. And the most common irritant is, where is my book? You see, that wonderful sound of love, which we use for something which is very banal like this, is this uchikottu. Each time you catch yourself doing, that's a good place to start working on. What do I need now? What do I do? You see, what am I feeling? Build on this. It's called minor irritant. And once you build that strength slowly, like your 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock waking up, half an hour, don't straight away attack your anger. Let it come later. That's your 5 o'clock target. Start with minor irritants, 7:30 target, 7 o'clock target. Things which makes you sigh, all this. Start there. And body has its own way of catching your attention, but we don't pay attention. That's the whole problem. If we pay attention, we understand, oh, it's a minor irritant. How do I work? What is my need? My need is this. So how do I get my need met? You see, maybe I should tell. Maybe I should communicate. Maybe I should do this better. So I'm now living consciously. I'm living with awareness for the smallest things I do. We can practice. The easiest way, I've seen some of my friends do it as awareness hour is what they say. So 9 to 10 awareness hour. Where for that 1 hour, they are pretty aware, and they don't do some very serious business. They do some normal stuff at home or at office, and they are aware as a practice, just to enhance the awareness. And many of us came back and said they learned a lot by doing this awareness hour practice every day. Where I just do it for an hour to find out what irritates me, what energizes me, how do I express that irritation, how does it impact others? The awareness. In that 1 hour, they do that. You see, they reflect and they become more intelligent about their own self. And so awareness should be directed towards self. When I say self, on a normal plane, forget consciousness, right now, needs and feelings is what I am made of as humans. Or for that matter, even animals have needs and feelings, but we are able to express it with a greater spectrum. And anger also has its shades. I'll give you a small anecdote, which I think never happened in America before. It is about anger. It seems a person asked a father, he was undergoing some of these courses, a middle schooler. He says, Daddy, what is the difference between irritation, anger, and consternation, or irritation, anger, and rage? What is the difference? The mischievous father told his son, My dear son, I will demonstrate it to you. And then he said, please do. He said, wait. And then he waited till about 10 o'clock in the night. Those were the days when the number could not be traced and it was only landlines. So he dialed a random number at the 10 o'clock in the night when people are just about to go to bed and said, hey, Charlie, how are you doing? The other end, he put on speakerphone, or maybe both of them were sharing the earpiece. The other end said, there is no Charlie out here. Hang up. He said, this, my son, is called irritation. What about anger? Wait. 1 hour passed. It was about 5 minutes past 11 o'clock in the night. The son was already sleeping a little bit. The dad woke up the son and said, you want to know what anger is, isn't it? He said, yes. He said, lift up that phone. He lifted. He said, press the redial button. And they redialed. And then the same voice, hey, Charlie, how are you doing it for the second time? Is what he asked. The other person said, I told you it's a wrong number. And he added some nice American words there. Hang up. And he hung up. The son said, I think I'm getting a grip, father. Yeah, I understand. But what is rage? He said, wait. It was about midnight. The old grandfather clock struck. Dung, 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 dung. 12 times it struck. It was about 1 minute past 12. He dialed the redial button. And a sleepy voice answered, hello. And he asked, this is Charlie here. Has anybody called asking my name? And then he kept the phone down and said, now you can imagine what rage would be. Don't try that at home. Not recommended for parents or children. You have the standard disclaimer. Like that, every emotion has spectrum. You see, the more you are aware about this extent of feelings, it is a mirror which tells us the extent of needs. And then you know what will happen over time? Each time you get the feeling, you won't feel helpless. In fact, you will start using the feelings as a wonderful compass to understand what the needs are and how can I reshape my purpose of life so that I can go in my journey of fulfilling one need after the another, and I can progress in the hierarchy of needs from a base level needs to a higher community and transcendental needs. That's how empowered we will become if we understand these two simple interplay of feeling and need, you see. And each time I have a feeling, the mind will automatically go into what is that I'm needing by practice. That's why he said, start with, and then you can go further. And you'll be intelligent people. And that's how you become accepting. That's how we go in the path of success without losing our mental, emotional energy, frittering it away in fretting and fuming and all that. And when you do that, you will exude tremendous influence around people. And I have seen it. People who live these principles have tremendous influence. Many times when they are questioned, why do you keep coming to me for this? They say, I don't know, you seem very positive about stuff. We like your positivity. What is that positivity? Understanding, awareness, and application of the awareness intelligently so that I progress in my path of purpose. So this is what it is. If you want an example, I read it in one of the American books. The concept which they talked about, I don't agree fully. I like the wonderful example they gave, so I'm giving it. It's an example very beautifully given about something else, but I'm going to use it for needs and feelings. Suppose you are driving in your car. You have a fuel gauge, right? Which says full empty. I never expected between E and F, there can be so much of variety. E na empty, F na full. They are two immediately next alphabets. Between E and F makes, so much of difference in life if you are stuck in a road. So here, a person was driving. Suddenly, he saw the needle after a long time. It was coming close to E, which is, empty. He starts saying, come on, don't give up on me. Would you do that with your fuel gauge or whatever you call it, gas gauge? What will an intelligent person do? An intelligent person understands that this fuel gauge merely exhibits the need for fuel in the fuel tank. I need to work not on the gauge, on the fuel tank. If I fill the fuel there, lo and behold, E becomes F. Progress. And so I go to a nearby gas station and get my tank filled. And if it's filled, the E becomes F, you see. And that's how we actually look at feelings and needs. Feelings are there to tell us something. They are the fuel gauges, and the real fuel needs to be filled in the tank. These are our needs. That's our purpose. If you fill the fuel there, the gauge would be automatically in place. And working on the gauge alone may not be a sustainable solution. If you tap now, but it will come back now. If it's electronic gauge, I don't know what will happen. If it's actually physical gauge, they allow for a little bit of, they understand customer. Electronic gauge is very stubborn. Babe, da. So remember this. Whenever we have the strong feelings, positive or negative, it is, we can also see it as it is exhibiting something to do with my needs. Let me find out what it is. And then, how do I fulfill it? That's how we live and we progress in intelligence, you see. So anger is an emotion. It masks the genuine feeling and it makes us forget the need. So real cure for anger, apart from a punch bag and the 10-step approach to anger management, which is, I'm sure is working because it has been there for a long time. The more fundamental approach, if you ask me on a long term, do all that obviously. You want to punch something, all that is there. I'm not prescribing to that, but if psychologists tell you, please do that. But the long-term solution, as a layman, which I found out is, more you focus on the needs, more we allow our intellect to buddhi to focus on the needs, less would be the incidences of anger, or at least less would be the intensity of episodes of anger as we practice the general health of our buddhi and manas. Synchronization is what I think. And maybe it will work. It has worked for people like me very well. It has worked with some of my friends whom I have suggested in corporates in India. They say it worked. So I guess it should generally work. You should try and then tell me whether it works or not. Hypothetically, don't tell me. What if it doesn't work? How can I answer? And now, so much for anger. Using the same needs and feelings, let's go to the next topic, which was very important when we are dealing with our generation next and all that, which is called empathy. As a parent, like a manager or a leader, I'm generally expected to give solutions. I'm generally supposed to be a provider, right? I provide for the family. Especially when there is somebody or something which is dependent on me for my providing, I take it for granted that all I need to do is provide or give solutions, you see. Now, between a small challenge and giving solution to the challenge is a very important middle step called giving understanding to the problem or the challenge or the person who comes with the challenge. Many times, people don't want solutions from us. In my case, I never want solutions from you. But when I am bringing a problem, what I want is not a provision for a solution, but some little understanding of what I am undergoing. If I can listen, that's enough. And maybe that's what is empathy. When somebody comes with a problem, instead of just saying, come on, it's not a big problem, cheer up, you're switching me off. Next time, I'm not going to come to you. Don't I know I have to cheer up? And now you have made my cheer even go below. You see, my fuel gauge has gone to D now. Dysfunctional. At least though empty na parvalla, it can't be dysfunctional, na? So remember this. Reflecting and listening to the feelings and needs of a person and showing your understanding, respectful understanding, explorative, respectful understanding of somebody else's feelings and needs is what is called empathy. Apart from the poetic way of looking at empathy, putting yourself in somebody's shoes, all that is only poetic. How do I make it practical? How do I make it practical? You don't have to even imagine. If I am in your situation, first, let us understand what this person is undergoing. Let me give listening. Let me give empathy in the form that I am here to just listen to you because I want to understand you first before I jump to an assumed solution. Many times, believe it or not, they don't need a solution. They want somebody who can show some understanding to get that emotional strength of relationships. If as a parent or a sibling or a brother or a manager or a leader, I don't do that, what happens is there is a lack of trust there. The conclusion a person comes from when I said I did this and said, no, you should have done that, you see, is, oh, they don't understand. All I wanted is respectful listening. All I want is sharing. All I want is somebody to be there for me, not to give me solution. That may come later. If I want, they will give. But we assume that providing solution is my job. More than providing solution, before I provide, yes, of course, it's a part of my job. But understanding respectfully of what somebody is undergoing is also my job, is also my role. Job is a very cold term. Huh? That's what is called empathy. I've given you these examples. And when people say, I took so much hardships to get you a cake, and the spouse B says that you should have ordered it online, you see, the whole point is lost now. Now the requirement of spouse A, when that spouse A said that I stood in a queue for an hour to get you a cake on your birthday, is to show that I really care for you. I was willing to spend my time, energy, and attention for 1 hour to get you a cake. And the spouse A was expecting gratitude or at least acknowledgement of that compassion or care. But spouse B was very busy giving solution. I have a new app. You just have to press the button and your cake comes home. You see? And what will spouse A come to a conclusion? Spouse B, he will never understand, or she will never understand. You see what I'm saying? So many times before we jump into trying to say, I will fulfill your need, at times, guess what? The need is just listen. Try to understand what I'm going through. Because all humans need understanding to complete their sense of fullness. Many times when kids come to you and tell you something, it is not for advice. It is for the parents to listen and try to understand me. I'm torn, I'm conflicted. I want to share it, I don't want to share. So I'm just giving you a hint. Use the hint. Huh? Understand me, ask me. And that's what they are begging. You see. And at times we belittle their emotions by saying, it's not a big deal, don't worry. Oh, really? You see, we are not giving empathy. We are belittling it by saying, it's not a big problem. The enemies of empathy are many. Many times when you want empathy, the other person gets into a storytelling mode. Have you ever seen such people? And when I say, yesterday, I tried to understand what is happening to my grandmother in the village, but the phone connection was very poor. Suppose somebody sells this. Now, what do you think the person wants in that? That person wants a social connection. The person wants to connect with me so that I can show some understanding. And say, must be very frustrating, isn't it? Especially, must be very concerning. Especially with all this epidemic going on, you are not able to reach. Now the parent, when the other person listens to that, he says, yes, this chap understands what I'm going through. Now a connection is made. Instead of that, if you say, you are not able to reach your grandmother, you know what happened to me? My story. Already the person is feeling a little down. And now you're in a storytelling. When I was in Germany, do you see that person will never come back to you? That person understand waste. He may not decide like that, but deep inside the decision is made. Why? Because I thought I'm consoling that person by showing I had even more bitter experience. Yours is nothing. But it can also be perceived as he's belittling what I'm going through. Many times parents do that. And I've seen it myself, not in America, where they say, Mom, I'm late for the bus. And the mom says, you know what? When I was your age, I used to walk a kilometer to go. Really? You walk a kilometer, you run. Who cares right now? Right now, I'm trying to show you that I'm frustrated, I'm alarmed, whatever. No, as a parent, you can't tell stories right now. You have to say, you must be pretty much alarmed and, try to first understand what that person is going through, the need. But if I don't focus on my need, how can I ever even think about somebody else's need? So it all starts with me. That's all the more important that we start focusing on these two to be more intelligent. A Mahatma you see, I've seen it myself. Without all these so-called knowledge from all these psychology, etc., they are naturally empathetic. So they get into that mode immediately, you see? And that's what gives us also, apart from divinity, etc., they are good human beings now, humanity, divinity, inseparable. When you go to them, and the humanness is natural. For us, we have to inculcate it, you see? Empathy is natural for them. They are constantly thinking, this chap has come. They have come for a need, and I need to fulfill their need to the best possible, and that is my need too. And they do that. So remember this empathy, the worst way to express empathy is using the word I understand. Have you ever been heard this? You should be on the other side to understand how irritating it can be. And the natural reaction is, no, you don't. You see, here I want some care, I want some understanding. And you say, I understand. Don't please say that. Show the understanding. Don't say I understand. Show the understanding by trying to pinpoint, are you, as a respectful question, are you feeling this? This is what you need right now, etc. Makes a connection. There is a trust. And without the trust, how can there be a connection? How can there be harmony in between people? So that is the reason why it is so important for us to focus on these two things to start with. There are many more shades to that, but at least fundamental is need and feeling. And when whatever happens to me, let me practice, understand needs and feelings. Use that understanding, because fundamentally about 90% all of us are pretty same. You see, there are small differences here and there. So if I understand myself well, I understand most of others also well. If I look at needs and feelings, of course, each one is unique, all that is fine. But the common principle of needs and feelings is common to everything. It's a universal dharma. And compassion means that only. Compassion means, how do I understand feelings and needs of myself and others? If I focus on my feelings and needs, it's self-compassion. If I focus on needs and feelings of others, it is the real universal compassion. And that is what when a Mahatma says, Vadiya Pairai Kandabodellam Vadinenna, that is empathy taken way beyond boundaries of normal human feelings. Mahatmas can be like that. Number, we need to put some boundaries on empathy also. We can't have empathy without being rained. Then we will become a wreck, you see. But I find to start with, certainly we need to focus on needs and feelings, you see. And that is what is empathy, a respectful attempt to understand what other person is going through in form of needs and feelings. Right? And when you need self-empathy, this is what you ask yourself. I am feeling this because I need that. What can I do now? I'm consciously giving self-empathy to myself. That's what is the power of needs and feelings. If we have that and we see all interactions through that, then what happens is we don't have to be, we don't need to have emotional outbursts, because we understand everything is interplay of needs and feelings. My needs and feelings, your needs and feelings. Both are important. I need to respect my needs. I need to respect your needs also. But then I believe there is a miracle in this universe where they say there is enough for everybody's needs. Only there is not enough for everybody's desires. Or as Gandhiji said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. Okay, Gandhiji may not have said that, but it is as important to understand this, right? It is attributed to Gandhiji. Gandhiji, most of Indians pay attention. And so there is enough for everybody's need. And that is the reason why my need and your need may not come as a conflict most of the times. If it comes, then obviously you have something called our need. You use that as a guide to understand yours or mine. And if we have the trust and connection built over years, both of us can sit together and look at a situation rather than being adversary. And you are saying, I am saying, no, together let us look at a situation. What are the pros and cons of fulfilling need A versus need B? Then a family should grow, you see. And that's the joy in give and take. And for that, we have to build the trust, the connection, the understanding, the love, the empathy among people. First step is, every long journey starts with the first step. First step is resolve psychological events to its two coordinates, needs and feelings. We'll start that. Resentment comes when we don't empathize with our adversary. If somebody is hurting us, at times, if we practice empathy and try to understand what that hurting person is going through and what the hurting person's need is, you can protect yourself from resentment and protect yourself from even external attack, resource-wise, economy, or mentally, or physically. You can do that sanely only when you get resentment out of your way. Empathy helps you to get the resentment out of the way so that you can approach intelligently to a problem where there is a conflict. See, so yesterday was a question about conflict, and that's why I added this. Conflicts come because there is a conflict of a perceived need versus a perceived different need. The first step towards the resolution of conflict is self-awareness of what is my need right now. And what is the options I have to fulfill my need. Otherwise, the mind will always take the easy way out, which is the way out which has been taking for time immemorial, fight or flight. There are a lot of things between these two. Between either I do something or I run away or I'm paralyzed. Between this triangle, there are a lot of other strategies possible. For that, our intelligence within need to work. For that, the first step is awareness. What is my need? And what is the feeling I'm feeling, undergoing this feeling right now? That awareness brings in a lot. That attention brings in a lot of changes. It will empower us, makes us more buddhir balam. And then comes yasho, dhairyam, nirbhayatam. Idella first buddhir balam is the base on which you can build all this. If buddhir balam is not there, yadume won't work. That's why the order is very important. When we talk about one of the most intelligent beings, அதனாலதான் சர்வோத்தமகாங்கிறத ஹரிய சொல்லிட்டு ஜீவோத்தமான்னு அவரை சொல்றோம் இல்லையா. ஏன்னா as a human being, he is the most intelligent person. He has lived his life like that. And when we are seeing Vibhishana Sharanagati, I will tell you the human aspect of how Hanumanji approaches the whole thing. All this is there. So empathy is what we need to inculcate. Humanity and divinity are inseparable. நம்ம ஒரு பஞ்ச்லைன் சொல்லாமா? Empathy and Shriyapati are inseparable. Empathy and Lakshmipati are inseparable. Where there is empathy, there is Radha Devi. சொல்றாரு இல்லையா? கருணையால் கண்ணன் மகிழ்கின்றான். Where there is karuna, where there is empathy, where there is compassion, that's Radha Devi's smile. Anyway. And then we'll come to the last topic, prayers. When we do the prayers, there are always two things we can pray for, given a challenge. Apart from the prayers can be four ways. You see, there is a very wonderful author called Aldous Huxley. He has actually written an article on prayers. There are four types of prayers. One can be a petition type of a prayer. One can be a gratitude type of a prayer. One can be a request for intervention type of prayer. Based on, I think, the Judaistic theology must have written. I found that very interesting, made me think. But anyway, the prayers, we can do at least two things, given a challenge. I can either pray for strengthening myself to face a problem, or I can pray, let this problem vanish, you see. And I would want myself to pray for both if possible. And it is the difference between, as they say, giving somebody a bag of rice versus teaching him how to do cultivation. It is the vegetarian equivalent of fish and the fishing rod. Okay. So instead of giving somebody just a bag of rice, if I can tell them how to do cultivation, how to take care of growing crops, etc., I've empowered that person for life. Na? So if I pray for one problem, another problem will come, another will come. How do I strengthen myself? You can pray for both. So you can pray for all these. When you are clear what you want, prayers are very powerful. When you are praying out of gratitude, prayers are very powerful. So generally, we will do a separate session on the science of prayers. It takes an hour or an hour and a half. And we'll also do a prayer one of these days. I'll keep you posted. Thankfully, we are all connected. All of you are seeing or connected through the WhatsApp group. So we can very well, connect with you all. It is meant to be that way. That's why I don't want too much of this promulgation in YouTube. We want it to make it intimate so that I can speak freely and you can ask freely. And we don't have the eyes of the world, which always looks for any defects, looks for anything to, magnify, unnecessary, asaram. And that's why we made it like that. So we'll talk about prayers as a separate session. Swamiji has said so much about prayers. And Namadwar is based on the premise of Nama and prayer. So we need to have a very serious look at it. In one of those weekend sessions, we'll do only prayers. And maybe next week we'll do that. Okay. And so prayers, if you're clear, I've told you what I've learned from the feet of my Guru about how I make it the mind stronger, etc. Now, instead of just praying to Bhagavan, make me stronger, which itself is a great prayer, you can specifically pray, let me not lose my anger and not look at the need at play. You can actually pray for all this. Each prayer, more specific you get, stronger it becomes. And so strengthen my mind is a good prayer because it gives awareness to yourself that I am an important agent in play. I want to actually face challenges. I'm not the helpless person who wishes away challenges. So I'm praying for strengthening me and the challenge. And prayers, repeated prayers, always are very powerful. And how do we pray so that we make it apt and more potent is what we are going to talk about in a different session. But now what I am requesting you is, if possible, please pray for Buddhir Balam also. Be very specific. If it is like I'm losing faith or I'm losing my temper or I'm losing hope or whatever it is, there is something very specific you want to be corrected, now you can pray for it to your favorite deity and pray for that. And generally, as a mantra shastra, Hanuman Chalisa or the slokas of Hanuman is very powerful for us to strengthen our Buddhir Balam. That's why our Swamiji has added our Hanuman Chalisa, Aditya Hridayam, as a part of Gopakutiram syllabus, which we teach to our children, because once they by heart it, it is available to them. When they need it and they chant it daily, it helps them. Mantras means that which protects the mind. Mananak Traya. And our Tulsidas Goswami's Hanuman Chalisa Mantra Shastra about Buddhir Balam. That's why we chant it daily. And Aditya Hridayam helps your overall health. Surya Namaskaram and Aditya Hridayam helps in our overall health. So these are all there as supplements. So let us fix this in order and use the supplements. And that is so much on prayers. I think we'll stop here and see if there are any questions.